Hi everybody, I hope you are all well. It's Monday morning. It is 7:20 on Monday morning and I am here recording this video. Um, as you can probably guess, I'm not working today because I'm actually on my 2 weeks off work. I am so happy that I have 2 weeks off. You have no idea how good it was to just wake up this morning and just lie in bed and not do anything. It was wonderful. I haven't had any time off work since June, since my birthday, so I desperately needed it. And because last week, because of my work and I was working crazy hours and everything just to get as much done as possible, I actually didn't start reading the book I had been reading until Saturday, and I finished it last night. So rather than do a rushed when I am extremely tired video and then upload it whenever I'm able to, I was like, you know what, I don't have to work tomorrow, so I'm just gonna wake up tomorrow morning, get, sort of just take the day as it comes, and then film this review and upload it at my leisure. So here I am. You're probably wondering why I'm doing a nearly 25 past 7 in the morning. It's because of this book, because I am so excited to talk to you about it, and also because I am so excited to listen to more of the podcast from the author. So I'm like, get the review out the way, turn on where I get my podcast from, and just listen to it. And I'm so super excited. But anyway, I'm here to talk about the book I've been reading for the past 2 days, rather than the past week, and that is Lady Killers by Tori Telfer, Deadly Women Throughout History. Now, how I came across this was Amazon recommended it to me. I had not heard of Tori Telfer. I got recommended because I got the books about the White House Farm murders, which I read and reviewed earlier this year, and it just popped up, and I just thought, and I read the blurb, and I was like, that is so interesting and so true. And in case you don't know about this book, it profiles 14 female serial killers from the 1950s and prior, and asks the question, why is it that these women have been lost to history when their male counterparts are remembered? Their male counterparts who may have taken fewer lives, who, in comparison, or at least to me, were less evil than the female counterparts. Why have their names been lost, but their male counterparts are the ones that we always remember? And so it profiles these 14 women, their full cases, breaks the myth from the reality, and goes over different reasons why we forget them. And I have to say, I was absolutely blown away by this book. I didn't expect it to be so light yet so heavy. And what I mean by that is that Tori actually states in this book, in the conclusion, that in order to write this book, she had to find a balance between the darkness and light, which comes from humor. Now, she doesn't like crack jokes throughout, but what she does is that she kind of brings her own personality in it. So in one of the cases, I'm not going to go in depth about the case or anything, just to give you an example, there was this point where the police turned up and they heard scratching behind a wall, and the woman, the murderess, should I say, she claimed that she had just had some work done on the wall, and a stray cat had got into the wall, so there's a cat in the wall, and she's like, really, police, you're going to believe that excuse? Things like that. Writing those stuff in, it gives a human element and our modern ways of looking at things to the forefront, and then straight away in the next sentence she reverts back to the case. So she's not poking fun at any of these cases, any of these victims, any of these women. She's just getting that balance in order to be able to tell these truly horrific stories. And when I say truly horrific, I read a load of crime books, I watch a load of crime documentaries, I listen to loads of crime podcasts, YouTube videos, because it really interests me. Very rarely do I get taken aback by something, or I feel my stomach turn about something, because I'm so used to the genre. In this book, multiple times my mouth fell open and I was like, oh Jesus. And I actually said, oh Jesus, multiple times while sat in my living room reading this book, because I couldn't believe what I was reading. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, so why are these women being forgotten? It is absolutely insane. Now, when it came to the list of names of the women, there were two that I recognised. The first was Elizabeth Batroy. I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. There were so many women in this with names because it covers all over the world. Pardon me. And so yeah, so I was like, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing names right, but I knew her because she's known as the Countess of Blood. And the myth goes that she killed women to bathe in their blood, virgin's blood, in order to stay youthful. And the second one is because it was a UK one, that her name is very well known in the UK, but not really internationally. And that's Marianne Cotton, who killed many, many children and a few men as well who got in her way. And she was around about, I don't know, about 10 years before Jack the Ripper, and she killed probably 3 to 4 times as many victims as he did, but he's remembered and she isn't. You know, and that it's that kind of thing where that Tori is asking the question, why do we forget these women? And we shouldn't forget these women. Every case has a different motive. She covers also things that are rare in that with female serial killers, where women kill women. We have women who kill men, women who kill children, women who kill anyone who gets in their way, women who kind of killed for fun, for money, because they were bored, because they were sociopaths married to psychopaths. You know, there's so many different cases, so many different perspectives of female crime in this book, and I loved every single minute of it. It is very, very clear that Tori is brilliant at writing. It is so clear that she does podcasts, because the way that she's written this book, I could hear it as a podcast in my head as I was reading it. I was reading sections out loud as well, because I just got so caught up in it. I was like, oh my God, I want to read this out loud. You know, which happens to me from time to time with books. I just feel like I need to read it out loud to take in another way, via my ears, this brilliant piece of writing. What I really love also is that all of these cases, as I said, they're all from different countries. They are all from different eras. They are all also from different levels of society. They are all different ages, and they all had different outcomes. I kept on, as you're reading the case, I was trying to guess what the outcome was. Obviously, Marianne Cotton, I knew. But the others, I absolutely didn't know. Like, as I said, I knew the legend of Elizabeth Batroy, but I couldn't tell you what the outcome was, because I have no idea. I know the myth. I don't know the truth. And when you look at the outcomes, some countries, I was like, holy fuck, there is one to do with being underground for the rest of their lives, and I was like, wow, that That is something. That is something. And because of obviously different levels of society, there was some that were like, oh well, we can't kill somebody, we can't take the life of somebody who is a noble woman, or who's well known in society because of who she is. It's like, yeah, but she's just killed loads of people. Like, come on. So the actual verdicts and what happened to them changed between the different levels of society as well, despite how evil the crime was. It was extraordinary. And the conclusions, with each case, a lot of it comes down to how men can't, or at least a society, but especially men, because these cases were 1950s and prior, because of the way that which women were viewed and their roles and such. It can't be possible for a woman to do anything evil, anything bad. They're mothers, they're wives, they look after us, they feed us, they look after our children. They can't be bad. This is just 14 of them. It's absolutely extraordinary that these women have been lost to history. And I found learning about them absolutely thrilling. Then each section, because it's not a long book, it is, hang on, there's absolutely loads of notes in this. It's 273 pages long, and there's 14 women's profile plus an introduction and a conclusion. So as you can imagine, their stories are covered quite quickly, but it's very succinctly written. It's not, you don't feel rushed or anything. As I said, it's like reading a podcast. It is wonderfully constructed, and I wanted to give you an idea of her writing. So this is the introduction of a woman called Lizzie Halliday. Oh, and by the way, when each profile begins, there is a drawing of each of the women, and this is Lizzie Halliday. I actually looked up each of these women, and I could find the image that these drawings are based on. A couple of them I found, like, there was one where she was holding here it is. So Elizabeth Ridgeway. I could find a photo of her in profile, but not holding the cup, and she was known for poisoning. So that's why I think the artist drew the cup in as a, to kind of imply what her calling card was, so to speak. But I found the profile picture of her. So I really found it interesting actually looking up these photos and seeing the real images or portraits, because some of them were, 14th, 15th century. So, but yeah, I really liked having that extra touch of these drawings. But here's an example of the introduction of Lizzie Halliday. So when you begin a profile of each woman, you have an introduction, and then it goes right back to their birth, through their life, their crimes, and then what happened afterwards, with were they caught, were they sentenced, all that kind of stuff. So here's Lizzie's introduction. At the tail end of the 1800s, a woman named Lizzie was serving time for arson in Pennsylvania's Eastern State Penitentiary. She had been a model prisoner for the first 1.5 years of her sentence, but 2 months before her release date, she began acting strange, a bit unhinged. So she was transferred to an asylum, where the physicians confirmed her insanity and looked after her until it was time for her to walk free. Lizzie had made her way to the state of New York to hunt for work. In a little town called Newborough, she met old Paul Halliday, who was looking for domestic help. He'd been married before, fathered 6 children, one of whom was mentally handicapped, and still lived at home on the Halliday farm. Lizzie informed Halliday that she'd just arrived from Ireland 6 weeks ago. They agreed on a salary of $40 a month. Before long, Halliday realised it would be cheaper just to marry Lizzie and get her work for free than to pay her for her services. Plus, there was something oddly charming about her. He didn't mind the thought of having her as a wife, so he proposed, and the two began a relationship that Halliday's children described as one of peculiar influence. See, Lizzie brought trouble in her wake, like an avenging angel, but no matter how many horrors she inflicted on her husband, he never left her. During the spring of 1891, Halliday came home to find a heap of smoking ashes where his house once stood. Lizzie, who was standing by the ruins, nonchalantly informed him that his handicapped son had just been burnt to a crisp. She claimed that the boy died trying to save her from the flames. This story, however, was belied by the fact that when they identified the son's bedroom door in the rubble, it was clearly locked, and Lizzie herself was carrying the key. And yet Halliday stayed with her. Less than a month later, Lizzie burnt down his barn and mill, declaring that he needed a new one anyway, and then ran off with another man determined to become a horse thief. She was quickly apprehended and thrown back into jail, where she immediately began tearing out her hair and screaming at anyone who would listen. The pandemonium got her acquitted on grounds of insanity, and she was sent across the Hudson River to the Matawan State Hospital for the Criminally Insane. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Please tell me if I'm wrong. Halliday scoffed at this development. Lizzie was perfectly insane, he insisted, and hoped by her present actions to obtain immunity for her crimes. But the doctors at the asylum disagreed with him. They kept her for a year and then released her into Halliday's custody, saying that she was cured. The couple muscled through another year of marriage, and then Paul Halliday disappeared. Lizzie told neighbours that her husband was away on business, but some of them had noticed suspicious activity around the Halliday farm during the past couple of days. Eerie sounds, figures creeping about in the night. Besides, there was just something weird about Lizzie Halliday, and the neighbours didn't particularly trust her. So one day, when Lizzie was out, they decided to search the farm. They wondered nervously if they would find a body. They found two. So that's Lizzie's introduction. And then, obviously, as I said, it goes back to her birth, follows her life, her crimes, and then the aftermath of it. And she does this with every single one of these 14 women. And I just, that tone, of voice and everything that she has in her writing, she has that throughout. And I love the fact that with each case, she is also willing to talk about specific aspects of that. So why women killing female serial killers who kill women is so rare. Why do female serial killers kill men? Is it money? Is it greed? Is it love? Is it something else? Why they mainly choose poison? And it's very, very rare to have blood shed by female serial killers. And she finds these cases of rarities, as well as those, in a way, this is very weird to phrase it, but meet the norm, as it were, of poisoning men for X reason. She's looking at those rarities, but she's looking at those who meet the criteria, and looking at, as I said, different levels of society, different centuries, different punishments, if there was punishment at all. It was fascinating to read, and I was so upset when I finished this book because I wanted it to carry on. I wanted to read more about these women, not just specifically these 14 women because I read their life story, but I wanted to read other cases, and that, I think, shows that how good a writer Tori is, how well she wrote these stories. And reading the conclusions and what she learned from these women, the emotions that she felt, it was fascinating. I absolutely loved it, and this was something that Amazon recommended me. It's not often, I would look at the books that Amazon recommended me, of course, because I buy loads of books, and I do from time to time go for them. But this one, I was like, this is brilliant. I'm really happy that Amazon recommended this to me. This only came out in 2017, so it's not that old. It's Tori's first book, and I looked it up, and she has a second book out, which is specifically about con artists, female con artists throughout history, and it only came out in February of this year. So I need to look into getting that book, because yes, I think this was absolutely wonderful, and it's a book that I don't think anybody has really explored the subject of, which brings me back to thinking about The Five, a book which I adored, absolutely adored. It was, what, 2 years ago now? No, 1 year ago. Yeah, 1 year ago. Because I voted it as my number one book of the year, and number two was the most recent Cormoran Strike book, which came out a year ago, like a couple of weeks back. Yeah, so it was last year. I still feel that book. And if in case you don't know what that book is, you can go look for my review of it if you like. The Five is a book which looks at the lives of the victims of Jack the Ripper, and categorically proves that they were not prostitutes. They were not this, we've shoved them in a box of prostitute victim and shoved them out the way and focus on Jack. Why do we do that? And so this book, The Five, profiles all five women, tells their life stories, and very specifically never covers their deaths, because it's about how they lived, not how they died. And I adored that book. I cried at that book. It still lives with me in my heart, my soul, my gut. I'm still, in a way, asking for forgiveness from those victims for being, for my mind associated them as just sticking them in that box. But it was what I was taught from childhood in school. That was why. And I was so thrilled that a woman had the guts to take them out of that box, give them their lives back, and present them to us and go, this is the reality. I applauded her for writing that book. I truly did. And it totally brings that book to mind. These women deserve to be remembered. And I don't mean that we should be sympathetic towards all of these female serial killers. No, because they did evil, horrific things. But they should be remembered for that. I really do feel that. But yes, so I did some research into Tori Telfer, as I said. She's got a second book out, which came out in February this year, which I need to look into getting. She also has 3 podcasts, and I have started listening to that podcast. Well, the main one is called Criminal Broads. I've listened to the first episode only so far, because literally I started listening to it yesterday, and then I've re-listened to that first half and listened to the rest of the first episode just this morning, right before filming this, and I loved it so much. And at the end of that episode, this is not a spoiler, but she says the house where this woman resided would later be taken by another woman who she's like, who I know pretty well, and she named her, and I nearly screamed, because the woman who took over the house, is in this book. And I was like, shut up, you are kidding me. So I was just like, wow. So thus, I'm recording this now. I'm going to binge listen to this. I'm so excited. So she's got a podcast called Criminally Broad. She's got other podcasts as well. They are, I think I've got them here, hang on. Oh, no, I don't have them. I thought I had them, but I don't. So there's a couple of other ones. One of them was called Why Why Women Kill, I think, and there was a third one, Red Flags, that was it. The third one's called Red Flags. So yeah, so she's got these 3 podcasts, but I've picked up criminally broads because specifically because of this book, because it only looks at women specifically, and she started doing that podcast after she wrote this book. So she relates to things in this book, but she makes it very clear in the introduction of the very first episode of it that even though she obviously she's going to cover serial killers and such, female serial killers, she's also going to look at con artists and all of that lot, which I think then relates to her second book, which got released in February of this year, as I've already mentioned. But yeah, I am so excited to explore Tori Telfer, her writing, her podcast. Criminally Broads has got 75 episodes at the moment, at the point of me recording this. So I've got a lot to catch up on. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to wind down this video. I'm going to start uploading it, and then I'm going to binge this podcast because, oh my God, I'm so excited. But yes, to conclude, a book that tells brutal honesty, but with charm and wit, and also sadness, and it's just so weird to say about female serial killers, so entertaining a book. I loved it. I was absolutely enthralled by it, and I'm not going to be getting rid of this book anytime soon off my bookcase. I can't help but smile. I found it a stunning read. I've recommended it to my sister. I actually saw my sister yesterday because it's my niece's birthday, so we had a family get together, and I showed her the book, and she's like, right, I'm buying this book. So I've got my sister to buy it. So I'm really happy about that. So my usual questions. Would I read this book again? Yes, yes, yes. So many times over. I've actually also looked on Audible. There is no audiobook for this, so you have to just buy the physical or Kindle copy. But as I said, she's got a podcast if you want to hear other stories. I think possibly, some of these women I think must be in the podcast, because the second episode, as I said, leads on with the first because of the woman, as I said, who's in this book, got mentioned at the very end of the first episode, and she said that woman will be appearing in the second episode. So definitely one of these women, for certain, I know of, is in the podcast, which I'm very excited about. Would I read any more of Tori's work? Yes, yes, yes. I am looking up her book her second book as soon as I finish recording this. I am so super excited to be able to look up her second book and get hold of a copy. Would I recommend this to anyone? Definitely yes. I think it's so fascinating from a crime point of view, from a psychological point of view, from different cultures as well, how women are, throughout history were perceived in different countries and their specific roles, as well as levels of society, and what's, the line between evil and, for the higher society, fun, for what entertains them. I find that specifically fascinating. And so anybody who's interested in psychology, true crime, or both, I think this would be a really, really great book to read. I'd recommend it to anyone at all who's interested in true crime. I loved it. And the fact that a woman, again, has written a book about women in crime, it's brilliant. We need more books like this to explore various aspects of crime, whether it be like The Five, where it's looking at female victims, or like this book where it's looking at female serial killers. We need more books like this around. So So those are my thoughts on Lady Killers, Deadly Women Throughout History by Tori Telfer. Have you read this book? I'd love to know what you think. Leave me a comment in the comments box below, or give me a thumbs up, thumbs down. Tell it to you, I'll let you decide. And I'll be back with my thoughts on my next read, which is the last book of my bulk of 5 that I've announced, which is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I'm looking forward to this, but at the same time I'm a bit because I loved The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, the first book of hers that I had read. I absolutely, like, Evelyn Hugo still lives in my heart. She's one of my book best friends. And I recommended it to my sister. She adored it. She went straight to this book and hated it. So I'm like, oh God, am I going to love this? Am I going to hate this? I don't know. But I haven't, I'm just going to see how I feel about it. But I'll be back with my thoughts on Daisy Jones and the Six as soon as I'm done. All right then, guys. Bye.